And now, okay, buddy, we're live.
We're live.
It has been a hot minute, but we are back and we are laying it down for the people here on the internet, across the globe, everywhere. And I am Big D, and I am joined by my good friend, colleague, and well, by rule of threes, I was going to have a third one there, but we're drawing a blank. I'll blurt it out unexpectedly in the middle of him talking. But can I use your full name, or do you want to just go by?
Dude.
We got Donny Buckethead Higgins here, baby. Buckethead, how you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. I don't know if you, I know you know, but the people who watch, I just got out of my sling. I had to get shoulder surgery recently, but I'm like back on a normal path right now, and can exist in the real world again. So I feel good. Every day is getting a little bit better.
I like that. Hang on 1 second here. Okay, everything on. We like to make sure that we've hit record because there's been horror stories in the past, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations getting out of the sling. I know that has been just being forced to sit inside. As much as we love playing Counter-Strike, suddenly when you're forced to do something, that's when you don't want to do it most, right?
Yeah, and then also like I had one of those like fat slings that had the block in between my arm and my body, so I couldn't even like really use my keyboard that well. But now we're back. We're back. You see this? I got 2 arms. I'm feeling great. Getting ready for a fun little trip that's coming up next week to
Yes, where are you going?
Philadelphia, Vegas,
Where
baby.
are you going? Let's go. Yeah, I'm going to put this video up tomorrow as well. There comes a cat. I'm going to put this video up pretty much right away as well, so turnaround should be pretty good. Yeah, we're going to Frag Vegas next weekend. We will be there together, hopefully casting some games. You never know what's what. Well, yeah, let's jump right into an interview here, Buckethead. It's really easy for me and Donny here to just sit and yap at each other because we've been casting games for the last several months after meeting in Frag. Let's just start. We can start with Counter-Strike and then talk about how you got involved with Frag. But what's your earliest memory of Counter-Strike and what led you to Counter-Strike?
So, I have a cousin named Bobby, and Bobby's a decent bit older than me, probably like 12-ish years. But when I was young, 7, 8, he was playing Counter-Strike Source. He was playing Scouts and Knives at his house, and I was visiting for the day. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Flying Scoutsmen, Scouts and Knives, whatever you want to call it. I was like hooked. I thought it was cool, and I thought he was cool. So then I immediately went home and asked my mother very nicely if I could buy a game that was about guns at the ripe age of 8. But yeah, I started playing. I started playing Counter-Strike Source from then, and I slowly discovered the pro scene right towards the end of. I mean, Source never really began. Most people thought it sucked, but right towards the end of Source and the beginning of Go. That's when I found myself watching the pro scene, and yeah, it's basically been a very stable and important part of my life since I was a kid. The entirety of Go up until now, where I get the chance to be a part of competitive Counter-Strike. It's something that's just constant and a deep love.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty consistent theme for a lot of gamers that play these competitive online games is we really fall in love with the thing that we connect with. But Counter-Strike specifically, it's just been around. I mean, the only other thing that's really been around as long as Counter-Strike that has the story to history, and we've mentioned it on this show before as well, is Dota and StarCraft, really.
Yeah.
Like, those are the only things that go that far back without ever really changing. And so I think Counter-Strike just really does hold a special place in your heart. So that's like still 14, 15. How old are you now?
I'm 22. I'm about to turn 23 next month. But
hey, you know what they say, Donny?
Nobody likes you when you're 23. I know. I'm ready for
That's
it.
right.
It's going to be the year of Blink 182, which I don't think anybody wants that in the year of our Lord 2025.
Maybe if it was
Yeah,
2005.
if it was like, this is gonna derail us a little bit, but I saw Blink 182 at the adjacent music festival, um, 2023 summer. Either way, they're like, I love Blink 182. Huge fan of the scene and what they done to progress it, but like they're a little old now and they're still making the same like, you know, young guy jokes, and you're watching them on stage, you're like, that's a little, it's a
A
little
little
weird
weird.
now. Yeah.
Little weird now. Listen, I think it was weird to people like that were older, like not teenagers,
Yeah.
when they were doing it back in the mid 2000s, just like all those bands, like, because they were in their 30s at the time and saying
Oh
all that
damn.
stuff, which was always, yeah, I mean, like at least late 20s, early 30s, but like
Yeah.
by mid 2000s, they were definitely like mid 30s, right? Like they were saying those same things. But hey, when you got a shtick, you stick to it
Yeah.
and keep going. Well, speaking of shticks, Donnie,
Mhm.
your name, it's got a history. Some might confuse this. I have not, by the way, anybody clicking on this video thinking that this is the man, the myth, the legend behind all the wicked guitar playing. I apologize if I've misled you. I have not unmasked that Buckethead, guitar virtuoso Buckethead. What I do have here is the man, the myth, the legend of North America. Donnie, do you want to share the story of where your name came from?
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm not as cool or as successful or as good as music as Buckethead the guitarist. But I so ESL One New York, which is a storied tournament that everyone misses so much, and ESL should definitely bring back for the rest of history. Was an event that I went to every year with my decent sized group of friends for the 4 years that it ran. And 2019, the last year, there was we'll say there was an occurrence that happened. It was the finals. It was EG versus Stralis. Um, I had a singular popcorn bucket on my head. This one, in fact, and you can see is broken because when EG won Dust 2, I got really excited. I think they won Dust 2. They won map their second map, and I got really excited. So I threw it on the ground, and I was thinking it was like my rally cap, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I gotta find a new bucket because I broke this one." So I ventured around the stadium, asking every single person to give me a bucket. I only got like three. And then I got back to my group of friends and I was like, dude, no one wanted to give me their buckets. And then everybody started throwing buckets on my head. It got out of hand. I got 57. The stack is still here. Um, I cherish it very much. But yeah, and it was really cool. I was 17. They brought me down to the floor to do something with Paula for like the DHL drop. The people on the desk started talking about it because the crowd was too busy engrossed in what was going on with the buckets to focus on the actual importance of the game ahead. Um, but yeah, so that shtick stuck, and that was hard for me to say. I got really confused with what I was trying to say there. But
Hey, you stuck it.
yeah, no, I stuck the landing. But then after that was COVID, and I went to college, and I kind of, stepped out into the real world a little bit. I went to school, finished all that up, and I didn't, I wasn't active in the Counter Strike community for that good 4 year period until the end of my senior year of college, where um, I changed my Twitter name back to Buckethead because I started playing open and I thought I was so cool and I was going to go pro. But then I got noticed by someone who works for ESL. Her name's Pat. She's the coolest person ever. And she was like, "Hey, are you the dude with the buckets?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And I sent her a really bad picture of me with my buckets. And then they offered to take me to Cologne for IAM Cologne 2024, and that was the the start of what I get to do now. They made me do social, not made me. They asked me to do social media work there, and I lovingly agreed to do so. And I got to meet all my idols, like Sponge, Machine, uh, OJ was there, and then I talked to Darth Mike, who actually like really pushed my inner desires to want to try to do this and commentate Counter Strike and showcase what I can bring to an event and to the game itself. And then he convinced me to talk to Sasquatch, who, if anybody doesn't know, is one of the lead guys over at Fragadelphia. And now we're here, and now I'm casting, and I'm doing fun things because of some random Twitter post that, luckily enough, was noticed and spiraled into all this.
Well, they say luck is where hard work and opportunity meet. So, wouldn't have been able to get there without wearing all those buckets on your head too. So,
Dude,
I
they're heavy, man. I don't know if you ever tried to put 57 popcorn buckets on your head.
I was just gonna ask, how heavy was that?
I
Did you
mean,
have any like damage to? Is that what your surgery was for?
yeah, for the buckets. No. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I woke up the next day, and that was back. I was 17. I was like, my body didn't hurt at that point, and I was like a young, fit lad. But my neck was like stuck for 2 days because I was all the pressure and I was sore. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, dude.
I bet it felt like after you go to a metal concert and you like headbang all night.
Yeah, like when you're
Like,
at the
did it feel
gate and
like
you're
that the
like
next
doing
day? And
this.
you're like, yeah, and you got no cares in the world, just horns in the air, going hard as hell. And then the next day, you're like, oh, I can't move my neck.
Yeah, dude. I went to Meshuggah. They played Montclair, New Jersey, last year, and it was the similar feeling when you're stuck in a spin pit of just like death and walls of people, and you run into someone who's about 7 foot 350, and you're just a little average sized guy. It's a true story, by the way. Um,
It sounds
Similar
like it.
feeling. Yeah, no, I ran directly into him and I like fell flat on my ass.
Well, that doesn't. You've put yourself through a lot of physical pain for the pleasure of the people, and he's still smiling about it too.
Dude, it was Meshuggah. How could I
It,
not? That was cool as hell.
oh yeah, I don't know if I could still do it. I'm getting too old to be moshing like that. I last time I was in a mosh pit, which was like 4 or 5 years ago, I was just like immediately elbowed straight in the nose, and I was like, I'm lucky I didn't break my nose. I think I'll go ahead and step on out of this.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
you hit that point. I'm right on the verge already. I know I'm still young, but like I got body problems, man. I don't want to get spin kicked anymore. It's not as fun.
yeah, no, not. Mosh pits have gotten violent over the
Yeah.
years. Well, okay, so you started casting. You've been casting for almost a year now, right?
Yeah.
Or more.
Well, casting at a casting at a level that I would consider experience for a year. My first time casting was many many moons ago, where you actually might know. I think I brought him up to you before. Stormy, who is my friend from the past, where we used to play together when we were like a similar level, and then he became a lot better than me. But I would cast for his open and main teams back since like 2015, 16. But it was just, me streaming the game so other people could watch it and just talking about it for the fun of it. Um, and I followed him all the way to when they signed with FYC, which has some pretty notable names on it in the Valorant scene, like Koala Noob. I'm pretty sure Fluky switched over to Valorant as well. But Koala Noob's like a big deal. He plays for Navi, and he's crazy. He played with Nitro on M80 as well. Um, but that's neither here nor there.
In Valorant?
Yeah, in Valorant. Um, but yeah, so I did that, and then, like I said before, when I went to college and just kind of got absorbed by life, um, I stopped, and funnily enough, I'm back to casting Stormy again. He was on Like a Empire. Um, I got the opportunity to work with that organization with some pretty cool people, and they just switched over to Villainous, which now I'm on as well with All In, and yeah, it's cool to be. He's like a very important part of my journey because I've stuck with him through a lot, and we both very much want to see each other succeed. So it's cool to be able to continue to work with him.
Yes, you and All In Gaming, Anthony, go. You guys have known each other for a while. Cause were you going to frag events before you started casting?
I Fragadelphia, I went to one of the Philly events way back in the, younger years of me, but I didn't I didn't know Anthony until I sat on the couch with him at Philly, which I gotta say, the first LAN experience when you're working it and you've never worked a LAN before, honestly, one of the scariest things in my life. I had no idea what I was doing. They just told me to show up at this door. Someone let me inside. Anthony was sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Buckethead," and he went, "Oh, hey," and that sprouted into a great friendship. So you know what? We take it.
Yeah. Well, I can agree that going to I, Kansas City was my first time, and going to that, I definitely was like, okay, what's going to happen? What not? You're not sure what to expect, right? Whereas like now, I'm going to Vegas here next week, and I'm like, I'm just going to hang out with my friends
Yeah.
for 72 hours and do nothing but talk about Counter Strike. It's gonna be freaking great. Like yeah, I'm looking forward to it even more now than I was that first time. Is there a Well, you started talking about a bunch of names there.
Mm.
You have a very deep knowledge of what not just our region, but the world as a whole. Are there any regions you don't know about?
Um, I mean, definitely like when you get into uh, Southeast Asia. I mean, obviously now with Mongols and um, those other teams in the hunt, the
Rare
Huns,
Adam.
Rare Adams, Tai Lu. Honestly, Tai Lu's a sleeper squad, but that's a story for another day. Um, but yeah, that's probably the least knowledge I have. I'm very big into Australian Counter Strike. Why? I don't know. My favorite team was Renegades for a long time, back with like the Sponge roster. He was my favorite player, um, which I've been made fun of a lot for, including by him. So you know, but yeah, I like to try to know as much as I can about the lower levels of Counter Strike because I feel like that's the real grounds that needs to develop in order to continue to push forward with what we want. We're trying to be respected as a real competitive scene. And in other places of the world, it's working so well. You see teams like Mongols, the official team of Mongolia, Eternal Fire, who, I mean, they just switched to Aurora, but when they were on that Turkish org, they were the Turkish team. They were sponsored by their government. Denmark, where you have Astralis during their reign of domination going to meet with the prime minister. Um, Even back in the day, McDonald's had the Nip burger when Nip won the major. I don't know if you remember that. They had the
I forgot
McNip.
about that.
Yeah, but
The McNip.
but yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of room for growth, and I think that growth needs to start at the bottom, and it starts with recognition for the people who are in development. Because if they have that recognition and they have people who know of them at least, it gives them more motivation. And I think that's the same way for us as talent. You know, every single time that if you're in a game and someone notices you, like not in an egotistical way, but it makes you want to continue to improve yourself because you got that 1 second of notoriety where you're like, oh, this dude is familiar with what I do. Now I want to keep doing that, and I want to like have a positive impact on more than just that person. So in the
Yeah, you get that
very
positive feedback loop going.
yeah, and a very roundabout and long-winded way. That's why I like to know about as much Counter Strike as possible because I just want as many people to feel inspired and find the love for the game that I found a long time ago.
Well, I like that. Sorry, I wasn't making kissing noises at you. My cat
It
is
didn't
down
come
here.
over, but I was hoping it was towards me. So
Oh,
now that it's not,
damn.
it's whatever.
Sorry to disappoint here. It's not your birthday yet, big guy. Um, well, then that leads me into the next question,
Yeah.
as answers generally do. What do you think are where do you think our region ranks among the different regions in the world? This is expert opinion coming through for you guys, so listen up. Where do you think our region ranks in the world, and what do you think we need to do to improve that, or either keep doing what we're doing? Like what do you think about our region in general in comparison kind of to the rest of the world? Because
Yeah.
there's a mixed bag of feelings from a lot of people, but I want to hear what Crazy Buckethead's got to say about it.
I think on all levels in term of where we are compared to the rest of the world, we're like as mid as possible. Um, there is a lot of growth in Asia for Counter Strike right now, but I think they're still, right at the bottom. Oceania and Asia down there below us, and then South America, I still would give the upper hand over North America. Uh, and then Europe. If you want to divide CIS into a different region, then it gets a little bit more messy, but we're still below them, so it doesn't matter. But I definitely think that NA Counter Strike is on a period of renaissance right now. In large part, as flawed as it is, I think that VRS is helping a lot with that. Not only is it giving opportunities for lands in NA, such as Launders Land, Fragadelphia, the such, to have more reach with who's playing at these tournaments and how important their tournaments are, but it's giving opportunities for new players to make it to a higher level. Um, there's a few setbacks that have happened, like CCT losing its VRS points, which really sucked. Um, although they didn't follow the rules, so as much as it sucks, you can't really blame Valve for that one. As much as we love to blame Valve, but I think that the growth right now is probably the most exponential it ever has been, and there's a lot of reasons for that. The tournaments, there's also a lot of import players coming in, which I know people don't always like to see that, um, because I've seen a lot of discourse about that on Twitter and such, where they feel that it's taking spots away from NA teams, but in reality, it's just a level up in competition. If a team has two imported players from Europe who are used to playing a higher level of Counter Strike, in my mind, that's just more pressure on us to play at a higher level of Counter Strike. That shouldn't make or break anything. It should just make us improve more. And I think that there's a lot of chances for new breakout teams to come through. Like, if you look at the MRQ right now, Blue Jays are set up to potentially make it to the major for the first time. Um, they're in the group with Complexity and Getting Info, and might just got eliminated. But even teams like Getting Info, where that's another orgless team that honestly, depending how the cards play in the MRQ, have the chance to make it to the major, and then that would get them more funding because presumably if they go to the major, they get signed by an org. There's a lot of just different things going on right now that are all pushing us in the positive direction. It's just a matter of the community not letting us get consumed by outside forces. We need to just hone in on continuing the path that we're on, and for better or for worse, just grit your teeth, play Counter Strike, play your heart out, because there is just a genuine more opportunities than there ever have been for us. And I don't know if everybody sees that, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of opportunities, especially because of VRS, like you said, that Counter Strike's definitely not going anywhere. As much as the switch from Go to CS2 has been a really, really, really rough transition. Anybody that's been around for the several decades that Counter Strike has been around can tell you that every single time Counter Strike switches to a new iteration. It is a messy, sticky transition for years usually until they finally hone it in and are like, okay, now Counter-Strike works. And like I sorry to ramble for a moment, but I still remember all of CS:GO from start to finish, listening to up until CS2 was announced, what a broken game that was and
Yeah.
how awful it was. And the moment CS2 comes out and you see how actually broken Counter Strike can be, then suddenly people are like, "Oh, bring back CS:GO. It was so perfect." It's like, well, no, but yeah, I think that you're right. Basically, is the point I'm trying to get at is that there are tons of opportunities right now, and I hope that these American teams continue to grind, and continue to learn from these import players. Don't get mad at these. Start learning
Yeah.
from them because we have to match that level. We can't. They're never going to come back down to our level, right? They're
Yeah.
going to keep getting better and better when we have to do the same. Um, that being said, what? I'm trying to think of another question here
Well,
about Counter Strike.
I want to clarify something. Because I know
Please.
people will be upset with my take on the whole import player situation. I do think that like if someone resides in this area, they should be able to play in this area. Obviously, when there's other things in play, like a team coming to North America just to compete in an NA qualifier when they're not NA, that's a completely different situation. But if people are a perfect example of this in my mind is Fisher College. Four players are imports. The only one left from the States is Corn. Um, but they're all in America. They're residing in America. They're going to college together. So there's no reason in my mind that those players should not be allowed to compete in this region when they're they're stuck here. They can't, fly out to Europe to go compete. So
Oh yeah.
that's that. I just wanted to clarify that part before, if anybody got upset with the way that I worded it before.
We get hundreds of pages of comments
Oh yeah.
on these videos. So yeah, you got to be careful. Yeah. You got to be careful what you say out here, Donnie.
Listen, man.
No,
I want to be a neutral. Like I'm trying to be nice. I want people to like me. I don't want to. I don't want to say anything mean. You know.
I everybody loves you, Donnie. Everybody loves Buckethead. That does actually give me another question, though.
Mhm.
What about the reverse, though? Do you think that it's as beneficial for when uh, teams in North America go to EU to learn there? Like, do you think? I guess, and then do you think it's more beneficial to import players here that are in the region playing with us and learning that way, or better for us to go to the other side? If any of that makes sense.
It does. I think it depends on how you want to think about it. Like going to Europe to boot camp and stuff like that is at a top level of Counter Strike is just necessary. Like seeing teams like Blue Jays who are just starting to crack into that upper, importance, NRG, teams like that where they're still not tier one, but they're the next below. They have no choice but to go boot camp in Europe. That's the only way that they can get better when they're at the level that they are because there's not enough competition within the region. Um, when you talk about bringing in players, you know, I do think it's good to have variety in your team. We're in a competition where international teams are kind of necessary at this point. We've reached the point where national teams have hit their peak almost 10 years ago now, and it's been international Counter-Strike since then. But when you see teams going the avenue like wildcard, where they, you know, right now they're a 2-2-1 split, two Europeans, two North Americans, and one South African, which would count as Asia, I believe. Um, they take a stand-in for a tournament to replace one of their Swedish players, so then they can be within NA for their VRS rank right before the major qualifier starts, so they could play in the NA qualifier things like that, not cool. I think there definitely need to
Yeah,
be
that's
specific
you're
rules.
circumnavigating the
Yeah,
rules at
it's
that point.
the same thing that Drillers did during the last major cycle, where they went through the um, did they go through the Middle East or
Yeah,
they went
that
through Asia? Either way, they played the Asian
I think it was
RMR.
the Asia qualifiers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
but they had a European team.
yeah, because they replaced the one player that would actually, or one of the two players that would make them qualify for that region right before the RMR. It didn't work, but there's there's still so many loopholes with VRS right now, and with how Valve want to do this. I give them a lot of credit because they do seem to be very hands-on with competition right now, especially for Valve standards. We can always want more, but this is a lot for us. And we need to be
Oh
grateful.
yeah.
Yeah. But we also need them to be a lot more clear and decisive with their rulings, especially for regional representation. Um, that's the only way that we can grow is if there are rules placed around. So, yeah, you can have imported players in, but if you're supposed to play in Europe for qualifiers and placement for VRS, you have to. You can't circumnavigate that by getting a sub and having him play a tournament. That's absolutely stupid.
I agree with that. That's the thing that I would like to see changed is like you need to region lock these teams harder.
Yeah.
If if somebody is in that region but is from another nationality, that's a different story, just like we were talking about, right? Like these players in North America, like at Fisher College, sure, there's 4 imports. They're all in Boston at Fisher College
Yeah.
playing those games on land together, right? Like that's different than, well, we want to beat what's in the region and we know the European teams are better, players are better. So let's get 4 players who are going to play on 150 ping on all of our matches. Like that's sketchier, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree. I'd love to see some tighter restrictions on the rules. Are you going to Austin this year for the major?
Most likely not. Just it was something I really wanted to do. Obviously, like I remember when I missed the Boston major.
Obviously.
Like I wish I was at the Boston major, but
And that's
no,
right next door to you.
yeah, but I was a kid, man. I was like 15 or something when that major happened. But yeah, now
Steal a car,
I'm
dude.
in the adult world, and it's
Just
just kind
kidding.
of. I mean, I'm young, but I have to like think about uh what's actually possible for me to do, and it's just kind of yeah.
Dude, I'm with you. No, I'm quite honored. Like I've been talking to some friends recently about the fact that like I just haven't followed professional Counter Strike in a while, and as a lover of the sport, of course, I want to watch that level, like that S tier amazing Counter Strike. But I just find myself more invested in watching and paying attention to what's happening in our region right now,
Right.
because of the fact that I want to pay attention to World Counter Strike when our region is like heavily participating in it. You know what I mean? And so that's why it feels like such a great honor to get to go to like Frag Vegas next weekend. Um, let's talk a little bit about Frag Vegas
Yeah.
since this is going to come out beforehand. There's a list of teams. You've got your computer up, so I think you probably
I
can
have the tab
see the
open. Don't
teams
worry.
easier if you. Oh, you love to see it. Now, I think last time I counted, we've got like 4 or 5 impact teams, which is huge.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 Challenger League teams. There's a couple of Pro League teams, M80 and Complexity. And then we got NIP as well.
Yeah.
We have a tournament that like for the first time I've been like seeing frag tournaments, there's not just an automatic standout as to who the grand finalists are going to be. What's this tournament look like for you going into it? Do you do you have any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. My first thought is that I don't know if you heard the news, but Complexity and M80 both had to pull out because of visa issues,
Oh
and also
no.
Complexity is attending Melbourne now because of the VRS replacement. But yeah, and also Mercenaries as of today just disbanded as a team, so I don't know if they're still planning on going to Vegas as like a just a last hurrah for fun. I don't know, Um, but besides that, this is
Okay.
this is still the biggest step for Fragadelphia we've seen in the post-COVID era. Um, since Frag 17, I would say. There's multiple there's multiple teams here that kind of need this victory. This tournament's happening for the next Major Cycles VRS ranking. So basically the way I'm thinking of it is any team that wins and gets these VRS points, it's realistically, NRG's up there, Blue Jays, NIP. I don't expect much from NIP, not in a hater way, but Um, but then there's also teams like Fisher College, Getting Info. You can even go with like some of the other ECL teams. Might Revel can go on a run. Who knows? These VRS points are going to be so important because for the next major cycle, if you can get these up early, you can start to attend these bigger events. You can start to get directly invited to these things. You can get directly invited to the qualifiers for these things. This is going to be Fragadelphia's real proving grounds. Blue Jays shooting up in points from Philly was huge. Now we need to see the highest level of competition from each team so they can put themselves in that position and they can start to branch out. If you want to talk about teams that I think are going to win, like I said before, I think NRG, Blue Jays are probably two of the favorites. Sharks is coming back. If you remember them from KC, grand finalist over
Yeah.
there. So that's a team that you should
Truly
definitely.
international here.
Yeah, they're in the MRQ right now. I believe they're in the upper finals for their group. As of recording, I don't think that game happened or is over yet. But yeah, I mean, it's really a shame. I was really excited to see Complexity in M80. But it's the world. It's what happens. You can't blame Complexity for going to IEM Melbourne over at Fragadelphia.
Right.
Like they need that type of experience on land. But yeah, I'm just excited, man. This is such a big deal for us, I feel, because it's always super cool to get to cast these teams on an actual stage. It's different than doing a cast for an advanced game by just loading into the server. No matter how big those names are, you're a tiny fish in a big sea. Um, but we have the opportunity to directly support these teams by giving them the storylines of the game that they deserve. They deserve to have every game feel as important as possible, and that's our job to do so. So it's really cool. I'm really excited. Obviously, I get to hang out with my friends, you, uh, other people that I'm probably not supposed to say, but yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I don't know who's going yet. I'm kind of looking forward to just being surprised by who's there because it's gonna be a bunch of people that love Counter Strike. Plus, I don't know if who we're allowed to say either.
Yeah, that's more
But
the thing. I also I know like one other person, but I don't know what the rules are. So
you can tell me after we're recording,
hmm, okay, I got you.
but it'll be our little secret. All right. Well, yeah, I agree. I think, well, and I just think Vegas is going to be such a fun setting. Like, it's going to be warm outside. Like, all the places that lands have been
Yeah.
historically have been in really cold places. I'm looking forward to being able to like wear shorts and a t-shirt and like show off my Counter-Strike tattoo easily instead of being bundled up the entire time.
You don't know the pain that me and Anthony had to go through at Frag Kansas City. Um, Let me start out by this. It was a great event. I love working with the Frag staff. It was phenomenal. The B
You guys were
stream,
the first
yeah,
team for the B stream
we
when they had
were,
it in the cold ass corner, right?
yeah, we were right next to. I mean, like the doors were shut, but we were right next to a loading dock, basically. And
You were outside essentially.
yeah, it was like -5 with wind chill. So me and Anthony are on this tiny couch, like shivering, trying to watch the game, and nothing we could think about except for just being cold. Then they moved us from map 2 onto the setup with the actual stage and everything. But yeah, I'm excited to have the change of actually being in a nice temperatured place compared to Kansas City and Philly, because Philly's always, cold during the winter months. So
We might find though, what's weird is being in like those giant convention centers, like where we're gonna be. Those things get ice cold, especially in a place like the desert as well, from the air conditioning inside. So I'm hoping it's nice and comfortable inside. It'll be fine. Big D's getting a little worked up about temperature just because he's getting to that age. I want it to be a nice balmy 72 at all times, you
Listen,
know.
man, no matter what, we're
Um,
gonna have fun. That's all that matters. Temperature won't ruin
oh
me.
my God, dude. And the fact we're at the bigger convention itself and like we essentially are getting into that for free and can like I don't know if you've seen like the guest list at that convention. It's a pretty big convention. Like,
I saw wrestling is
uh,
there. I'm a big wrestling guy.
oh yeah. Do you? Well, let's veer off. We can stray away from Counter Strike and talk about the man Donald Higgins here, the wrestling fan.
I love me some WWE.
Yeah, he's gonna be missing OSS Grand Finals because he's
Listen, in my defense, it,
was
I
planning this much longer.
yeah, WrestleMania is. I have a tradition with, especially my hometown friends, and then since college, my college friends have joined in, where no matter how much we hang out, we get together as many pay-per-views as possible throughout the year to watch wrestling. And now, like being an adult, there's nothing better than sitting with your bros, drinking beer, and watching wrestling. Like I completely understand, like this Stone Cold, with the beers and that. When I was a kid, I didn't know what beer was about. Now I get it. It's the coolest thing ever, and you just get to hang out and watch people do flips and big dudes, punching other big dudes. It's a good time.
Do you believe it's real?
No, well, okay,
Oh,
wait,
damn it.
wait, 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 wait. Um, in terms of outcome and storyline, no, but that shit hurts, man. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
If anybody thinks those guys aren't actually running around and slamming into each other doing that stuff, they are actually
yeah,
doing that. Like, it's a very physically demanding job. That's why it was under such hot water for a really long time from the 70s through the 90s while they were
mm,
like, no, 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 no. It's real. It's real. It's real. And it's like, yet you're giving hardly any money to these guys who are literally putting their bodies through hell. I
yeah.
mean, I
It's a
watched The Iron Claw.
oh, dude, that is probably. I don't know if I would call it my favorite movie of all time. It's
It's a
probably
damn
the
good movie, though.
best movie I've ever watched in my life. I love it. It's top 3 for sure. Um, and like how it's I wouldn't say it's all surrounded around truth because they took some creative liberties, but the story of the movie and the events in the movie are all real events and it's a real family. Um, so being a wrestling fan and watching that movie and like knowing it prior to it, I watched it with my girlfriend and she likes wrestling now, but she doesn't know like the history of wrestling. Um, Emotional as hell. I cried like 3 times. It was a beautiful movie.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. That's one of the better movies I've watched in the last several years. Well, and A24 just uh, you know, not to turn this into a movie podcast, but I'm a big fan of A24 stuff. I just watched that Warfare movie
Mm.
that came out that was it's real based on the like live combat scenario of like modern warfare. Woof. Very intense movie. Very intense movie. But man, A24 just really gives artists the ability to grow and make the thing that they want to make, which I'm gonna use as a little segue back
Yeah.
into some Counter Strike because I've got a couple of last questions here. The second to last one here
Okay.
is one of the things that makes Counter Strike so beautiful is, in my opinion, is and frustrating, depending on how you look at it and what mood you're in, is the fact that Valve is very hands off and has allowed its community to really mold how the game is going to go, right?
Right.
We've talked about Valve being more hands on with the VRS. How do you see Counter Strike comparing to other esports in the future? Do you think it has the staying power to continue on another 30 years basically another 25 years the way it has already. And yeah, just where do you see Counter Strike continuing to go as time goes on?
I don't see Counter-Strike going anywhere. One of the biggest influences for that is the aforementioned Asian culture that is now absorbing Counter-Strike. It hasn't fully spread yet, obviously, but it, the simplest move of having a major in Asia and seeing how the fans reacted to that. I don't know if you saw the posts on Twitter and stuff, but the players and the talent were being treated like celebrities. Like they were getting out of their
Hmm.
cars, the fans were swarming. That is such a significant step for the longevity of Counter-Strike. Um, I think there's a few things that need to happen in Valve's territory for the health of the game. I think the biggest one is keeping the standards they put for other organizers on themselves. Um, like, have you seen the new rules where tournaments need to be announced? Uh, uh, what is it? A year beforehand, or maybe 2 years beforehand now, where it's like the location, the date. If you don't abide by these rules, you can just get rejected, like from running the tournament. And then Valve announces where their major is 2 months before the major. Like, although I'm exaggerating, things like that need to just be ironed out so it doesn't dissuade other organizers, other, tournament organizers, and also team organizers, like organizations like that. It just needs to be able to grow in that way. Um, I also think the dependency on gambling sponsors and stuff needs to get pushed out as much as possible. It's kind of a difficult situation that we're in as a community because gambling sponsors are willing to work with us. They are super willing to. They will give us money, and that is the one of the easiest sources of income for these organizers to work with. And they need it. But I do think at the end of the day, it's hurting our scene. Um, yeah, I mean, if you see players like Jacob with his recent development that happened, where the whole like not giving skins back, not paying people for skins, gambling. I don't want to delve on that too much, but it definitely isn't healthy for the scene, the gambling sponsors. It helps us in the immediate future, but 5 years from now, when you know countries make laws about gambling sponsors, these gambling sponsors just pull out. Where does that leave us? So if there can be a little more mainstream notoriety, that would be the easiest way to get rid of those sponsors. And the only way to get more mainstream notoriety is to continue supporting the game as a fan. So as long as we just show our love for the game and continue to go to these events, continue to root for our favorite teams, buy their jerseys, whatever, any sort of little bit of support is how we make this game continue.
Yeah, I agree. And Big D's got a lot of feelings about gambling sponsors and toxicity in the scene, but yeah, I agree. I think there needs to start being some we need to start seeing some bigger picture here for the long term
Yeah.
instead of just short term. But it's also hard, right? Because everything's kind of held together on shoestrings. So you have to take what you can get, which leads to that short term view. And I think we're in a renaissance period, like you said. Though I think things are continuing to grow. I think 2025 has already been really exciting for NA, and yeah, I'm excited to see where we go. Okay, well, guess what, Donnie?
What's
I
up?
got one last question here for you
Yes, sir.
before we diggity dip. If you have any advice, if you either to your younger self or to the younger generation, what's kind of your general advice, not just in Counter Strike and casting, but I'm sure this experience with being in a sling for the last several months has been some kind of eye-opening experience as well. Anything that you can relate to the younger generation out there, your younger self, kind of overall all advice have you got before we peace out? Just soapbox it up, baby.
Um, I'd say the most important thing that I've learned, especially recently, is to just be be true to yourself. Be who you are, like what you like, and don't feel bad about it. You know, I come from a very fortunate situation where um my family thinks this whole thing, this Counter-Strike, trying to work in it, trying to make my dream come true, they love it and they support me to continue to pursue it, and they always will. A lot of people don't have um that backing behind them, and it's the harsh reality that some people don't view the world as a way where you can do something you love and have fun, but you never know if you don't try that. And that's true not only for work, for everything, the people you hang out with, the things that you do in your free time. Just stick true to yourself, because if you're not true to yourself, you won't be true to anyone else either.
Gonna bring a damn tear to my eye, Donald.
Listen, man,
My God, I love that.
it's there this getting graduating from college, being at that point in life where you're in between everything, and not knowing what's going on, and also having my injury. I've had a lot of opportunity recently to look kind of retrospectively at my life and what's happened so far in the short time I've been on this planet. But you know, there was spots in my life where I wish that someone would have told me to be more comfortable in my own skin. Um, and that's never an easy thing to hear. It's never an easy thing to do, but it is the truth. And the faster you force yourself to accept that truth, the faster you can feel happy in your own life.
It's beautiful. All right. Thank you so freaking much for joining us, Donnie,
Pleasure's mine.
Buckethead Higgins.
Yes, sir.
I'm once again Big D, and thanks for also the viewers at home. I didn't wear my whole socks. Got some complete, I'm sure there's cat hair all over it, but we are toast. Done. Toast sounds bad.
We are